Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. President Joe Biden is facing new questions over his candidacy in the November election, with his campaign events currently on pause due to a COVID-19 infection. The two top Democrats in the U.S. Congress, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, are both reported to have met him individually to express concerns over his bid for the White House. Nancy Pelosi, the former House Speaker, has also privately told him that he cannot beat Donald Trump in November's election. Mr. Biden's re-election attempt was already being buffeted by growing dissent among top Democrats after his disastrous debate performance against Donald Trump last month.
For half a century, he's been the champion of every major policy initiative to make America weaker and poorer.
Meanwhile, Mr. Trump's vice presidential pick, J.D. Vance, vowed in a primetime speech to fight for working-class Americans that he argued had been cast aside and forgotten by Democrats. The Ohio senator referred to his humble roots as he criticized what he called career politicians.
Now, Joe Biden has been a politician in Washington for longer than I've been alive, 39 years old. Kamala Harris is not much further behind. And in 4 short years, Donald Trump reversed decades of betrayals inflicted by Joe Biden and the rest of the corrupt Washington insiders.
The new UK Prime Minister has welcomed the Ukrainian president as he arrived for talks at the European summit held at Blenheim Palace.
UK demonstrated leadership from the very beginning of Russian attacks. And
Mr. Zelensky added that the focus of his meetings would include air defence and energy. Sir Keir Starmer is hosting the first major UK-led summit of his premiership, which brings together around 50 leaders from across Europe to discuss shared challenges such as Ukraine and illegal migration. 7 people have died, including 3 young children and a teenager, in a fire that broke out in the early hours in the southern French city of Nice. The local prosecutor said officials were investigating the blaze as a potential arson attack. The mayor of Nice said they had images that clearly showed the fire had been caused by petrol poured into a stairwell by hooded people during the night. Flames engulfed the upper floors of an apartment block in the Moulin area of Nice, close to the city's airport. Interior Minister Gérald Darmanin said 3 young children were among the victims and that police would shed light on the circumstances of this terrible tragedy. At least 16 people have died following a fire at a shopping centre in the city of Zhejiang in China's Sichuan province. 30 people were saved and the fire has been extinguished. While the specific cause of the blaze is still unclear, preliminary investigations suggest it was started by construction work at the building. Footage broadcast by China's state media and on social media showed thick black smoke towering above the 14-story building. Kenyan police have banned protests in the centre of the capital Nairobi and surrounding areas until further notice, citing their leaderless nature that has made it difficult to enforce safety. It comes after a month of anti-government protests in which scores of people have been killed. Nairobi city centre has been the heart of the youth-led protests, which have also taken place across the country. The protests began against unpopular tax rises, but after they were withdrawn, have broadened out, including demanding for President William Ruto to resign. And a large dinosaur's skeleton has fetched $44.6 million at a Sotheby's auction in New York City, the most ever paid for a fossil.
At $40 million then. That's yours, Jody. Sold.
The plant-eating Stegosaurus, nicknamed Apex, is 11 feet tall and 27 feet long from nose to tail and ranks high among the most complete skeletons ever found. It was sold to an anonymous buyer who said Apex was born in America and is going to stay in America. Apex was discovered by chance by a paleontologist in 2022 near the suitably named town of Dinosaur in the western US state of Colorado. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.